Alrighty guys, welcome to week 3. Let's get going. So I'm gonna hop in learning path here. We're gonna head over to week 3. Okay, animate words. So what you're gonna be doing this week is you'll be animating action words. So you'll want to pick a word that has some sort of action, like a verb, and animate that word doing kind of whatever it means. So, for example, I'm doing awake and I'm going to animate the word awake to kind of awake from a bed, and I'm going to have other things going on. So, you'll need to pick 4 different words and you'll need to do 4 separate animations. You'll have 2 weeks to do this. You're going to be adding images, background pictures, whatever. These need to be good. Okay, do take everything you've learned so far and animate them in a way that makes it look like whatever that word means. Now, if you want to combine a couple, if you want to have I don't know, like punch and block. You'll have punch, punching block, and block, blocking it or something. You could do that, and that could count as your 2. If you want to have the 2 words, interacting or something, that's totally fine. But for this, you'll need to um, just do 4 separate word animations. Okay, spend a good amount of time on these. I mean, you have 2 weeks to do this, so they should be good. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through how I made mine. It'll show you a few new things, and we can kind of go from there. Okay, so I have this. I am going to head out to, let's see, I'm going to go out to the desktop here. And I kind of already created this awake folder. That's where I'm going to have everything. And I'm actually going to resave this. Call it awake.html. I'll get rid of that. Okay. Now I have these are kind of the assets I'm going to be using. So I am going to need the JavaScript file, the tweenmax, right? Then I got a sun and a moon that I'm going to use in this bed picture. So I'm going to copy those and bring them over. So obviously I'd kind of recommend that you get an idea of what you're going to do and go out there and get or create what you're going to need to get this animation to work. Okay, so I have everything in there. All right, and I'm just going to start out here and I'm just going to tell you what's going to happen. So I'm going to have the bed on the page. And then I'm going to have the word awake kind of look like it's awaking from the bed. It's getting up. And then, of course, it's going to be night and the moon's going to be out. And then after he wakes up, it's going to go from night to dark or night to day. So it'll be dark, it'll be black outside, and then the moon will be out. And then after the word awake gets up, then it'll go to day and it'll have the sun come out. Nothing too hard, but you know, has enough animation into it where it takes a few seconds. It takes well more than a few seconds. All right, so I'm going to create a div and I'm going to give it an ID of stage. This is going to be the div that'll contain everything. And also I'm going to apply a background color black to this div so I can then change it to white and have it be day and all of that. So that's the first thing I'm going to do here. So I'm going to style that out. I'm going to style out stage. Okay, the background color is going to be black. The width's going to be 100%. And the height, I wish I could say 100%, but I'll show you what that does. Then I'm going to position it relative. It doesn't do anything. It's just going to allow me to position the divs that I put inside a stage absolutely. So I can position them absolutely, and when I'm moving them around, it'll be according to the div that it's in and not the browser window. Okay, so I'm going to save that. Let's take a look and see what we get. Okay, you can see that nothing's black because this height 100% only works when I start having things on the page. So I put in some text, and so now you can see that it made that black, but that's not what I want. So really, for this, all I need to do is I'm just going to put in kind of a big number here. I'm going to go like 1500 pixels. Okay, and that's big enough for what I'm trying to do. When I go full screen, it's all black. Now you can see I have some space here, up here at the top and on here, that this is kind of default padding and margins that the browser puts in by default. So I need to reset those and get rid of them. So I'm going to style body, and I'm going to say 0 on the padding and 0 on the margin. And then when I save that, you can see that it goes away, and now the full browser window is black like I wanted. Okay. All right, moving on. So now I got the stage kind of set up to exactly how I want it. Now I'm going to go on to the stage. I'm going to throw in the bed. So image source bed. Okay, I'm going to give it an ID as well, so I can position it around and style it. Okay, there it is. You can only see the outline just because that's how that PNG was made, and that's fine. It's kind of big, to be honest, so I'm going to shrink it down a little bit. Let's see, how big is it? 626. So I'll say width of like 500. That's a good size. I'm good with that. Okay. Now really all I need to do the bed, I'm not going to animate the bed at all. It's just going to stay there. It's going to be more of a background. All I need to do is just position it. So I'm going to come in here, start styling the bed. Okay, and I'm going to do position absolute, and I can do that because the div that it's in, stage, is positioned relative, so it's going to be according to whatever the stage div is doing. So I'm going to go position absolute, left 50%. Okay, and you'll see what that does. You can see that it takes the left portion of the bed and it puts it directly in the middle. Well, I want the middle of the bed to be in the middle, so I have to offset that out. I have to offset that by half. So the half point of the bed will be in the middle, and that's what I'm going to do. Now I just made it, how big? 500 pixels wide. So if I say margin left, and then I offset it by 250 pixels, which is half of the 500, it puts the bed directly in the middle, and that's what I want there. Okay, and I want it to be a little bit from the top because I'm going to want, some space for the moon and some space for a wake to show up here and so forth. So yeah, I think that 200 pixels is good enough. Okay, cool. I'm not going to animate bed at all, so I don't need to do any code there for that. All right, next thing I'm going to put in is the word. So throw that in a div. I'm going to give it an ID of the word, of just word. Okay, now this is where things get a little crazy. Now, the way I want to animate this is I want to do it letter by letter, and I'd recommend you do the same thing. But I don't know, it just kind of depends on what you want it to do, but you're able to animate this letter by letter, and that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to put span tags in here. Now you got to be careful with span tags. I was playing around with it, and like rotation, you can't apply to span tags. So if you're going to rotate anything, it needs to be in div tags instead. So it's just, if you're trying to apply a certain effect to it and you have it in a span tag, you may want to put it in a div tag and see if it works any better. Okay, but I'm going to go span tab. I'm going to get an ID of L1 for letter 1. Okay, and it's going to be a capital A. All right, so now I'm just going to kind of copy this, and then I'm going to put in the rest of the word. So that would be for W, A, K, E. So A, W, A, K, E. Okay, and that's going to be letter 2, letter 3, letter 4, letter 5. Okay, so that should be it for the HTML portion anyways. Now I want to get in here and style this up. So I gave it an ID of word. Okay, I'm going to say position absolute because I want to put the word, I want it to be kind of on little underneath the bed. It's going to be about right here. So position absolute, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to position it according to the halfway point. Therefore, if the browser window gets resized or anything, these will always stay lined up. So left percent, let's see here. We'll go top. I don't know exactly how tall this is going to need to be, so for now I'll just say 300 pixels. It's probably going to be a little bit less than that. And then margin left, we'll throw in, go negative 200 for now. Again, we're probably going to have to play around with this. Now, this is just the div that's containing this. So all I'm doing is moving the word right now. Well, the word's black, so it's probably, yeah, you can see it's right there. But, you know, I obviously need to style the actual word. So that's what I'm going to do here next. So I'm going to style word. I'm going to go inside a word and I'm going to style letter 1. But I'm also going to go inside a word and I'm going to style letter 2. So I'm going to style all of the letters all in this one statement. Jeez, can't type. Let's go. So word L4, word L5. So this is how you can style multiple things in one statement. You just separate them with commas. So I'm styling L1, which is inside of the div of with the ID of word, styling L2, which is inside of the div of word, and so forth. Okay, so now I'm styling the letters. So I'm going to say color, plum, why not? That's beautiful color. Font size, I'm going to start it at 1 pixel because I'm going to animate it to get bigger. Okay, and we'll be doing that here in a minute. And opacity, we'll set it 0 because I want it to be invisible. Okay, and the height, again, we may be tweaking this, will be 30, and the width will be 30. Okay, another thing I want to style now, well, I guess for now I'll make this a little bit bigger so we can kind of see what's going on, because that's going to be a little helpful. All right, so there it is. Okay, and when I animate it with green sock, I'm obviously going to make it a lot bigger. Okay, and I'm probably going to need to position this a little bit more, but we'll tweak those values in a minute. Okay, but that's kind of what it's looking like right now. All right, so now I'm going to also style word and then the span tags. Okay, and what I'm going to do to that is I'm going to give it a different font. Actually, I don't really. We'll do it. So we got font family, and I just picked fantasy because you know what, that's amazing. Font size, okay, we'll make it 34 pixels. Color, I don't need that. I'll put it here and I won't put it here. Now, to be honest, I could probably combine these two. I think I just kind of ended up doing it in a different way, but that's okay. And then the letter spacing, I want to have 15 pixels in between each letter. So it spaces out the letters a little bit more. It looks a little bit cooler when I animate it. Okay. So that's kind of what it looks like. Now, let's animate this. So what I want it to do is I want it to be really small. Actually, I gotta position that a little bit more. So we're gonna say negative top, I think needs to go a little bit more, right? So we'll say about 3. 75. Let's see, about 150. Okay, that's about good, but I want it to be up a little bit more. So maybe 325, maybe 350. Okay, good enough. Okay, so we're good with the CSS for now. All right, so I'm going to come down here. I got my tween max embedded. I have my script tag, and this is where I'm going to start animating everything. Okay, so I'm going to have var timeline1, right? So t1 equals new timeline max. Okay, that's setting up the stage basically. So now we have our timeline, and we're going to start attaching the animation to it. All right, so I'm going to take letter 1 is what I'm going to animate. Okay, letter 1. I'm going to say is going to take 2 seconds, and I'm going to animate. Oh, I need to go back and change this. So this was opacity 0, and this is the font size. It's going to be 1. Okay, so it's invisible and it's really small. Okay, so so this is where it's animating from, to use those keywords, right? So it's animating from an opacity of 0, from a font size of 1, okay, and a height and width of 30. And I'm going to animate it to, this is basically how it ends, right? So I want the opacity to be 1, right? Now this is where brackets can help you out a little bit. I want it to be font size, because remember in CSS it's font dash size or font dash family, but in JavaScript it's a little bit different. You got to go camel case. So font size is what I want. So the font size I'm going to animate to actually 84. And you don't say pixels or anything like that. It already knows that the 84 is going to be pixels. And I may have to mess with this a little bit. Now, I went to GreenSock's website for this because I wanted to see if I could find an ease that kind of looked like somebody was waking up. So let's see, where was it? I think it was under documentation. And then I went down here to easing. Okay, and I kind of went through these, and I was like, all right, I kind of like this one. And basically, I wanted them to kind of stretch a little bit, like come up a little bit. So I ended up going with elastic. I went with elastic because it's like, okay, they wake up, they stretch, and then they come in. But then I was like, but this is I just thought, that was a little too bouncy. It was like bouncing up and down and all over the place. So I could come in here and I started playing with these values. So I went with 1.2, and then I went with 1 here. Okay, and once I got it, I could see that, okay, it kind of rises up and then it comes down. So like stretches, it's like you stretch when you wake up, you stretch, and then you come back down softly. So I kind of got that to where I wanted it. I'm like, all right, that kind of looks like someone's awaking, right? So then once I had that, all I had to do is just grab that. I just grabbed that ease and I used it. So you may want to take a look at these eases and see if you can find something that works. You can also do custom. Custom is where you can just play around with this graph until you get the type of ease that you want. Okay. So, but this was good enough. This is what I wanted. So I'm going to copy that, throw it in here. Okay, so now I have my ease, and it's elastic. It eases out, and then it gives me those numbers, so it gives me the effect that I'm looking for. Okay, so let's save this and make sure that we're kind of getting what we want here. All right, so there's the A. Kind of gets up, and then it goes back down. Okay, now that's a little big. I'm not wanting it that big. So I'm just going to shrink that down to maybe 74. Still a little big. So we'll go 64. Okay, that might be all right. We'll see in a minute. Okay, so we have it kind of appearing, going up, and then it's doing its thing, and then it shrinks down a little bit. So that's the first letter. Okay, and I want to animate the next one. So 2, and it's going to be really similar. I'm going to be animating letter 2. 2 seconds. It is going to go to the opacity of 1. Font size 64. Ease. Want the elastic ease. Ease out. Config 1.21. All right, save that. Okay, the A comes, and then the W comes. That's kind of what I want there. All right, now because these are all going to be pretty similar, and you know I'm usually very anti doing this, but I'm going to do it anyways. I'm going to copy and paste here. So A, W, A, K, E. All right, so letter 2, then we got 3, then we have 4, then we have 5, and really that should be it. They all should come up now. W, A, K, E. All right. That's all right. Now, I wanted to go a little bit faster. I don't like how A goes, and then W goes, and then A. I mean, it goes kind of slow. So you should remember how to do this, right? We're going to have to offset it a little bit. Now, it's okay when A plays. That's fine. I just want W to play a little bit quicker. So remember, you come out to the curly bracket. We're going to hit comma and put inside of quotes the offset. So negative equals, I'll just say 1 here. So it's still going to take 2 seconds to animate. I'm good with that because it kind of makes it a slower animation. But when this is 1 second into the animation, this one's going to play. And I want a similar effect with the other ones. I just don't want them to wait until the other one's done before the next one plays. I want it to start a little bit before the other ones. Okay, so A, W, A. Okay, so there it goes. Now, let's see here. I want this a little bit higher and a little bit over to the left, so I'm going to play around with that. We're going to say top, more like 325. Margin left, 175. Because, I mean, I kind of want it to look like it's on the bed, right? But not totally. Let's move it over a little bit more. Maybe up a little bit. So, I mean, you'll be tweaking these numbers as you go. Okay. That looks pretty good, I guess. Okay. So, you know, they get up. It looks like they're stretching a little bit. You know, get up, stretch, get up, stretch, get up, stretch, and so forth. Okay. So, there's the word. Now there's a few more things. I want the moon to be out. I want the sun to come up. I want this to go from black to white. So we still have a few more things we need to do here. And also, I'm going to come in here. You know, I mean, I'll just keep it there. Whatever. It's working the way I want it. It's fine. Okay. So I'm going to throw the moon in. All right, so I'm just gonna throw that in inside. I'm gonna give it ID of moon. And I'm not gonna throw it in using an image tag. I'm just gonna throw it in using a background image. And you'll see because I'm gonna animate that. So I threw that in there. We're gonna now style moon. So moon is gonna be, well, first of all, I need to figure out about how big it is. So it's 150 by 150. This may end up being really big on here. I may need to go into Photoshop and shrink that down. But for now, that's what it's at. So we'll say width is going to be 150. Height's going to be 150. The background image is going to be the moon. Okay, and then I need to position it out as well. So throw that in. So there it is right now. I'm not, it's not in the right spot. I want it to be kind of over here above the bed. So I'm going to go left. I'm going to do this kind of the same concept, make it go in the middle and then offset it a little bit. So let's see. I'll say about 150. We'll see where that puts it. Save that. Yeah, oops, we need negative 150. It's like that is nowhere near where I thought it'd be. Okay, so let's try 75. Nope. Nope. It's still not really behaving. Maybe that is kind of, yeah. 250, actually yeah, that's okay. We'll shoot it down from the top as well. We'll say like 80 pixels. We'll see where that puts it. I think it's a little too close. So maybe more like 50. Yeah, that looks okay. Maybe a little too big, but I can shrink it down. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm basically just going to have the moon fade out and have the sun fade in at the same time. I tried to change background images with GreenSock, and I was reading around, and they said that it wasn't really that. It wasn't really. You really couldn't. So I just thought of another way to do it, where I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna change. I'm gonna have the sun basically right behind the moon, and I'm gonna have the moon fade out, and then the sun will look like it fades in. So just kind of a weird effect there. So I'm going to put that in now. So I'll say div ID equals sun. Close that out. And it's going to be really similar here. So I'm just going to copy and paste. So sun. Now I made sure when I was editing these that the sun was the same size, 150 by 150, the moon 151 by 150. So they're exactly the same size. So the background URL is going to be sun. Okay. And I positioned it in the exact same spot. Okay. So the sun's there and the moon's there. The problem, though, of course, is, well, the sun shouldn't come out till it goes to daytime. So I need the moon to be on top. So all we got to do is z-index with that. Just give it a really high z-index and it should be on top now. Okay, and the sun is actually there a little bit. That's kind of annoying. So I can probably tweak that a little bit. Just 149 by 149. I'm gonna have to keep tweaking that till it goes away. Okay. It's getting there. Oh, the fun stuff. Holy cow, why is that not? Alright, I just need to make sure that this is actually going to do it if I keep doing it. It should. Wow, okay. That's it's like not going as small as I thought it would. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I'm actually gonna have to go into Photoshop and mess with that. That's very interesting there. Okay, well that's all right. Um, so we'll put that back. So it's kind of good you're seeing that too because you can see that as background images, they don't shrink down when you shrink down the size of the div that they're in. They're still is that big. So, all right, that's fine. So we're going to go into Photoshop here. And we'll just have to shrink it down in there. And that'll be okay. All right, so we'll throw it in. Boom. So I'm just going to go image size. We'll say, I don't know, 145 should be enough. Shrink that down a little bit, and then we'll just save it and save over it. We don't want any compression, all that's fine. Okay, so now we come back and refresh. Geez, I don't know what it did. This is awesome. Sorry to waste your time, guys. Let's see. Oh, it's repeating. So it does this, and then this is it actually repeating off this way, so we're going to tell it to not repeat. So background, repeat, no repeat. Also, we'll need to shrink this down a little bit too. We need to shrink it down to the size that we've made it. Actually, yeah, we probably won't even need that. So, okay, looks like it's a little bit better. We're just going to have to offset it here. So, let's make, I want the moon to be on top again. All right, so we can't see it on this side, but we can a little bit here. So if we just move the sun over to the right a little bit, I think we'll be okay. So if we go like negative 245, oh, that was a little bit too much. So if we go negative 247, it's just like barely there. All right, so top 51. Yes. Holy cow, that was ridiculous. All right, so we got it finally. Okay, so it's there. It's behind the sun, or it's behind the moon. So now that once awake animates letter by letter there, we want to make the moon, basically, I'm just going to fade the moon out. I'm going to fade it out and the sun's there, so it's going to look like it fades in. So the moon currently has all this stuff and it's good to go. So I'm going to just come down here and I'm going to say, all right, 2. So I'm going to animate the moon 2. Okay, because I gave the ID of moon. So I'm going to animate that. I'm going to have it take 1 second. And all I'm going to do is just fade it out. So opacity 0. And that's all I got to do here. Okay, so I'm going to save that. We'll see if it works. Okay, it faded out, and then it looked like the sun fades in because it fades out and it's underneath. And that's what I want. Okay, the next thing that I want is I'm going to fade out the black, right? And I'm going to fade it to white with the same time when the moon fades out. So I want the black to turn to white, and then I want the moon to fade out and have the sun show up. All right, so I can do that because I set up this div as the stage, so I'm just going to animate the background color of this div. So that's all I'm going to do next. So I'm going to animate that too as well. and I'm going to be animating the stage. And then I'm going to have this take 1 second as well. And instead of animating opacity, I'm going to be animating background color. Okay, and this needs to be in quotes because it's a value. Okay, and I put in the hex value of white, which is 6Fs. Okay, so awake, fades in, oh, and then it goes white. Well, I want that to happen at the same time. I want the sun to fade in at the exact same time the black does. So just like we've done before, right? I just need to put in an offset. So I'm going to say, all right, I need this to animate 1 second, 1 second more, not later, but before. So this takes 1 second to animate, so I'm offsetting this by 1 second, so both of them will play at the same time. Okay, so here it goes, they're waking up, and then boom, that fades out, that fades in, and then there we go. And I have it, and everything is happy. Okay, so because you're doing these like word type animations, it might be good to play around and just do them letter by letter. I think that's cool. I think you can get some kind of cool effects. If I lower this number to like 0.5 and I offset all of these by 0.5, actually no, I'm going the wrong way. That actually made it go a little bit slower. So if I did, these are all going with 2, so if I did 1.5, that's what I wanted to show. Change all these to 1.5. Then it can get a little bit faster. I mean, you can get a little bit of a faster thing, so you can have them kind of look like they're all growing. So to be honest, I would want more like 1.8. I mean, if you want, I've seen this type of animation before where they grow in really fast. Like they're all just in, boom. That can look pretty cool as well. So you can play around with it, get the type of thing that you want, but I just wanted it to look like each letter was waking up and then it went from night to day. So you can do that and you can get those effects. But I don't want that. I want it to go back to what it was. Have them a little bit one at a time there. Okay, so that's it. All right, guys. Hopefully you've seen a couple of new things. Get creative with this. And also, if you're not sure what CSS properties you can animate, what I would do, because sometimes I wasn't really sure with the background color how to do that. So I would just Google green sock and then background color. And then it would give me the reference. So I'd click on it here. And then they have all these forms where people show how to do this. So I went in here and I'm like, oh, okay, background color. Oh, and they got to be in quotes. Because what I was trying to do actually before is I was trying to do it like this. And it was breaking it and it wasn't working. So I went and looked and I'm like, oh, okay, the syntax actually, you got to have quotes there. And then once I did it, it started to work. So you can get a lot of help doing that, figuring out how to do the different animating with green sock, depending on what you want to do. Okay, and I looked up rotation as well, and I found that it was always being applied to divs. And so I'm like, oh, okay, spans can't be rotated, but divs can. So you'll see that as you go, but just play around with it, animate these words to do certain things, and the more you play with it, the better you'll get with it, and the cooler your animations are going to look. So, and the cool thing about all this is, you're able to do all these animations that only, just a few years ago were only possible with Flash. But now we can do all this using JavaScript, which is pretty slick. So anyways, guys, good luck. Let me know if you have any questions. Have an awesome week. We'll see you.